So you see the right people in it for the right reasons. And, like you that, had your passion from your background, me, which is why, it's meant a lot to me and got me through, that's really where I think the market's headed.
And now what about how do we bridge this gap in this competitive state to state angst? Because one state wants to do something, they say I'm doing it better than that state, and another state wants to do something, I'm doing it better than that state, and they really aren't doing it better than themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the issue. It's it comes down to funding, right? So the government needs the money to set up people in there. They need the right experts. I don't think the right the people that would tend to go into government are the people that would are typically from the cannabis industry to understand those situations. And then it's also rolling out a program that's viable for your market. In Michigan, for instance, you had a caregiver situation, much like California. But how do you change a market within weeks? Right. How do you roll that situation out when there's been a lot of bad practices and no real foundation and knowledge and how to cultivate these things?
Have you seen the Fresh Toast article that's out about the discovery of the THCP?
I did. So the Nature article, yes.
Yeah, the article that talks about the fact that, and a lot of people don't know this, but this cannabinoid was discovered at a military laboratory. A military laboratory looking at cannabinoids to see if they could weaponize them. And this is a conversation that's been held since almost back in the 50s and the 60s, where, the governments can't look at something and just say it's okay to have, a product. Let's figure out if we can turn it into a weapon that, we can hurt people with. And that's really interesting.
Well, I think from an industry, from a science standpoint, I think you put a lot of the regulated systems on those military bases for research, which is why it was a controlled substance in those situations. Where I think it's how do you start studying it from a framework that didn't allow anybody to study it, and I think that's probably why it went through that university. From a natural products chemist, because that's really ultimately who discovered that. These are in minuscule quantities, so you're talking about huge extracts, and then you're getting a milligram per maybe kilogram of extract. Right. So you're talking about trace, but it allows us to figure out the same structure and what that actual compound looks like. And why I say that is when we talk about cannabinoids, they're kind of a core framework, as far as its chemistry, and there's only slight subtle changes.